You're listening to the Beer Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast. Tune in every Wednesday night at 6:30 Pacific for a dose of beer and brewing banter with your hosts, Ben Holm and Andrew Ziegler.
So hop aboard for some wit and wisdom in the Pacific Northwest, because it's always beer 30 on
The Beer Craft.
Picture this. You're standing at the brew stand on a chilly winter morning. 3 thermometers hang within arm's reach, each claiming a different truth. One says 40, another 45, and the third insists it's 38 degrees. You glance at your mash tun. You think about the yeast packet warming on the counter, and a little doubt creeps in. Which one do you trust? That tiny little moment of confusion can set your brew day on a strange path. You might hit your target, or you might spend the afternoon chasing numbers that never line up. It sounds trivial. Those 3 little needles can change everything. Welcome to a fresh episode. Today we're sinking into calibration, the art of making your gear tell the truth. Calibration, it feels like homework for some people, yet in brewing, it keeps you from wandering in the dark. Think about how many measurements you take on a brew day. Mash temperature, pre-boil and post-boil gravity, water volumes, yeast pitch rate, and fermentation temperature. Each one rests on a tool that may or may not be telling you the right story. Our aim in this conversation is to explore those tools, dig into the science, and share our own blunders, and invite you to laugh at us or learn with us. But before we can do any of that, we have to take a little break, because the clock on the wall says it's time for
Beer 30.
Andrew, how the heck are you?
Sheesh, Ben. Sounds like you've been shot out of a cannon here.
Well, we got a lot to do today, a lot to cover, so I want to get it really done quick. I'm channeling my own micro machine.
Yeah, we got a lot to do.
Yeah,
a lot to do in our 1 hour time slot.
Many things.
Were we doing 2 shows in 1 hour?
Well, we're gonna cram a second recording session in today. I don't know if this one will come out first or the other one. Doesn't really matter. But we're going to do it. God damn it. We're here in the studio. We've got cold beer. A little bit of repeat action. We've got some pub beer from 10 Barrel Brewing, because it looks like
that's what we drink.
You bought a case of it, so
yeah,
we're
why
going to
not?
drink it. Might as well. It goes down real easy.
Well, I mean, this is my normal drinker when I'm just sipping a beer. Try to get hydrated.
Get it done beer. Right. Hydration.
Yeah.
Hydration's important. My doctor agrees. He's a brewer as well, so I don't have to spell a lot of things out to him.
Right. I can't drink $30 beers 3 times a night.
No, that
very many times during the week.
Expensive session.
Yeah.
No, the pub beer is fucking great. I don't mind it. I just got word from Josh today. He actually found a Pilsner he liked. He's out in Walla Walla, dropping off his girlfriend's daughter at college. So he's wilting in the sun. It's about 100 and stupid degrees out there.
That is something I don't.
But he
miss.
found a Pilsner. He's telling me about it, and I'm like, hey man, my straw doesn't reach. What the fuck?
Right.
That's a little
Can't
short.
Can't sip it virtually.
How can I verify your findings? So we might have to take.
Is he going to bring one back?
I'm not sure. It was a text message, and then I got distracted by all the folks coming into the shop today. It was a busy day at the shop.
Maybe a bottle will show up.
Definitely cider season. Yeah. We've got some cider grinders and presses.
Yep. It seemed my apples came early.
Yeah, it did too.
They did.
Everybody showed up. I got wiped out on fermenters and bags. Fortunately, I had a bunch of used carboys. All right, take those home with you.
Yep. I had a whole bin, and I put them in my garage, and then the garage actually did get too warm, so
get a little mealy. Did they?
Kind of fermented a little.
Yeah.
No, not bad.
The apples I
got
used
last year, so I
were,
tossed them.
They'd been sitting for a bit. I culled through the crates and found some decent ones. Made a fantastic cider last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. The only thing I did wrong was I didn't write down what I used or how much of each one.
Right.
Because I had 6 or 7 different apples, from French cider apples to English strains. And
where'd you get them all?
Hector over at Tulip Valley Winery was nice enough to share his haul with me to test some equipment.
That's pretty sweet.
It was a pretty sweet deal. Thank you, Hector. If I spend the rest of my life chasing that recipe again, that'll be a life worth living. It was really tasty. Tasted like
sweet
fucking Martinelli's apple juice.
Yeah.
It was, we pressed it out, no sugar needed. It clocked in at 7% or 6.95% ABV. You couldn't tell. Crispy, dry, but enough fruit-forward flavors from those apples that it tasted like apple juice.
Right. Have you ever fermented Martinelli's?
I've not.
I have.
How'd that go? Because it's already carbonated.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It went.
Yeah.
Remember these? You used to get the big one.
Oh yeah, they had
Yeah.
that half growler kind of
Something
size.
like that,
Yeah, it's a jug.
I did it in that.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Little airlock on it. Boop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I remember that cider, those bungs you had the other day from a cider sat in your garage for years. It
Looked
turned
like
vinegar.
a booty hole.
Yeah. Fun fact, kids, little chemistry action. Rubber and vinegar, they don't mix real well.
Nope.
Cause the rubber to swell and after prying it out of there.
And like bulge out.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a rubber ball.
because it was confined by the bottle.
Yeah.
So the only way it could go was down.
Right.
And so it already had the hole in the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very interesting
Yeah,
science
just-
experiments. If you're in the neighborhood, come by the shop. I'll show you what we're talking about.
It's a show and tell.
Yeah. What? It's like the best kind. What not to do, right? Like narrow
Exactly.
down. If you eliminate all the things you're not supposed to do, you're gonna be fine.
Well, I'm gonna pour this saison we have. Well, it's not a saison. This is the blend.
It's the mix
This is
culture
the
from
curious mix method.
Garden Path. Yeah.
Yeah, mixed culture.
I'll let you do that because I suck at it. Tried to pour we have just a regular seltzer at the shop because, well, hell, I got room for 8 kegs in the kegerator. I don't need that much beer at work, so we did a hard seltzer, not hard seltzer, but that keg blew. So this will be great because I am unhydrated. Oh, that looks good. You're very gentle pouring. Not much of a head on that one.
Oh shit! No, let's drink it and I'll give you more.
All right.
Because I think I swashed it back.
Oh,
So it
bottle
was,
condition,
yeah, it's been in the refrigerator a few weeks, sitting, and I haven't moved it, and now it's poured out. It's nice
crystal.
and clear.
That's right. The last one was a car ride over
Yeah. So the last one was kind of, you get the
Murky.
flavors.
Yeah.
Murky. The murky is it, but you get the murky flavor. This way, it's almost like juice, almost like the juice of this. You know?
Kind of, yeah. There's kind of like a nectary,
Yeah.
thing going on. Very like crisp and clean.
It's a low carbonation.
Fine beer.
And the aromas of like fruit, apples, and peach.
Pretty good. We don't have smell-o-vision or drink-o-vision. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's wetting all my whistles.
This is what I'm gonna drink in between my pub beer.
Chase your pub beer
Yep.
with some mixed culture fermentation.
That's right. Because I want to stretch that garden
Which one was
path.
this? This was the Curious Mix Methods.
Yeah.
I think that's a series they do. Got 4 different beers blended into that.
I can't read.
It says the 4th edition, so they've
Fourth
at least
edition.
done it one other
So
time.
is it-
3 other times. I
Yep.
get mad. I haven't been drinking that much.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how you been? What you been doing?
Work. I took a week off from the shop, but that just meant I worked somewhere else.
Always.
we're
Honey-do list?
big one. We had
Yep.
to clean the backyard because we hadn't done that since last winter. Bunch of
Been there.
accumulations of detritus. Like had a table out there holding a bunch of flower pots and stuff for the garden, and it collapsed over winter and just kind of went everywhere. So picked up all that. We're putting in some new gravel for an eventual patio build or something. Keep the weeds at bay, and had to scrape all the weeds out of that and get all the shit out of there. So did stuff like that. Started working on building a new gaming table. So custom build. That's been fun.
I hear that.
Yeah. So
Some woodwork.
a little bit of woodwork.
Yeah.
Of course, my shop's not big enough, so we had to cart. Now I've got pretty much half my tools carted out into the backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were telling me you had this accessory area where you have some magnets.
So the design is a from Wormwood Gaming Tables. They have an accessory rail slot that uses magnets and friction.
So you have different like shapes of a table
Yeah,
in front
they'll
of you.
have like, you know,
Maybe used for different things.
yeah, there'll be like cup holders, or there might be like
A laptop,
a little, like a little table desk kind of thing.
laptop holder.
Yeah, or just like
Or
a
a
dice,
tablet
you know,
holder.
dice box or something,
Yeah.
or
And then
just
it
a
just kinda
armrest or something.
It just comes in and clicks in and doop.
Yeah, holds in nice
Nice.
and sturdy, but still movable. It's kind of nice little option.
Right.
And the tables, it's just all plywood. Got myself a track saw for my birthday, and
Yeah.
so I was able to do some really repeatable cuts, really clean cuts.
How you like
And
that?
That thing is great.
Yeah.
Like,
How long is it?
So it's a 110-inch track. So
Holy
I can
Moses, that's 9 feet or
do 8. It's,
8
yeah,
something.
it's over 8. So it's enough for like full size sheet good. Really crisp cuts, really repeatable. It's very satisfying to grab a fresh stack of milled lumber and have all your.
Does it come with
edges
its
line
own
up.
saw?
It's a plunge saw, and then the guide rail that it fits onto, and it keeps it dead straight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like you put your
yeah.
little Makita saw on there though.
It's got its own saw,
its own
and it's
saw.
a plunge saw, so like you can, without having to you can do plunge cuts with a regular skill saw or something, but you have to, drop the whole sole down onto the right line. This thing, it's got a spring-loaded hinge on it, so it drops the
Yep.
blade right where you're there. It's pretty cool. Definitely the way to go for panel goods. Way nicer than trying to use guide a whole 4x8 sheet of plywood through a table saw by yourself.
Right.
That's not fun. I've done that enough, and I hate it.
So how do you do this? How do you support a whole piece of plywood?
So I just put it on a bench top and a sacrificial piece of cheap 1/2-inch ply as that it can cut into.
Okay.
Kind of a sacrificial piece, and that helps with dust collection and chip out and tear out from the cut. And you just slap the track right on your cut line and rip it.
And this
Very
thing
nice.
fits on top?
Yeah, it's just an extruded aluminum with a little raised rail, and then the sole of the saw has an indent that matches that rail, so it just rides along that rail. Can't go left or right, and laser sharp.
Zoom.
Yeah,
Cool.
a pretty slick way to do it.
Yeah.
Really, I've talked to several cabinet makers, and they're like, "Yeah, that's the business. Get yourself one of those." Very cool.
Right on.
So it's
you're
got
busy.
me, yeah. So that was chewed up a lot of time getting that set up and starting that build.
Makes me feel lazy. I haven't done anything in like 2 weeks.
I'm jealous. I did it all.
I mean, I feel like I was busy, but I didn't do hardly anything.
No.
Trim
it's
my
been good.
trim my BlackBerry.
Yeah. Then now I'm back at the shop, and it's cider and wine season. So
Yeah.
been doing a lot of that sort of stuff. So meet new people and get them started in fermenting their own tasty libations.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we should do a
That's the
cider show. We
point.
should probably do a cider show.
Cider show. We'll have to get.
Maybe we'll do
get,
that cider show.
Our
for
guest,
yeah.
our guest Jen in.
Heck yeah.
She was just calling me.
Cider maven.
She was just calling me.
Like 2 seconds ago?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yep.
Well, should we get to the show? We got a lot to cover.
All right.
Let's do this.
Do it.
Take a little break, drink a little more beer.
We'll be
and
right back.
We'll do that.
Attention! Vacation's over, and from now on, you will brew when you please, and the first and last words out of your little brewer's mouth will be, I need a beer. Capiche?
Sir, yes, sir!
If you ladies leave my store, if you survive my special brewers unit training, you will be a home brewer. You will be a minister of beer, ever praying for more beer. Do I make myself clear?
Sir, yes, sir!
Learn to brew with Northwest Brewer Supply. Classes are available today at nwbrewers.com.
Okay, before we dive into the specifics, Andrew, do you remember any moment when a miscalibrated tool turned a brew day upside down?
Oh, yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
I think every time I messed up, it was probably most likely from a miscalculated tool.
Yeah.
I mean, you could talk about like I'm brewing over at my buddy's house, and I bring my equipment, so I'm not in my garage, and so I'm there, and we're brewing, and it's a hot day. Fuck. July, and I'm putting my glass hydrometer down in there to see what's going on, or my glass thermometer, and then the sun is heating up my thermometer way more than my mash is. So, what the heck? It's not turning. It's not going.
It's supposed to be cooler than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This fucker's boiling.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Always happens. The worst one is probably my three vessel system, where each one has a thermometer on the outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
Calibrating those three.
Yeah,
and getting those three
been
in
there,
tune.
done that. Yeah.
Oh, and you're like swapping them out. Oh, no way. Trying to keep the temp on his and this.
That was kind of the inspiration for today's topic. Was like like in the intro they were talking about a winter brew day. Like, I know it's fucking cold, but how cold is it?
Every piece of your equipment was cold.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's
but three thermometers in the same 3 foot square. All reading different things, and who fucking knows what was going to happen. It was like, it was time to do something about that.
You got to revert to your caveman days of when we brewed without that stuff.
Yeah. Calibration, that is the difference. Honestly, it's the difference between planning and guessing. So let's start with the obvious, the humble thermometer.
Thermometers. There's a lot of different thermometers.
Yeah. I mean, every brewer begins with a thermometer, whether you're using a stock pot or sophisticated stainless steel system. You need to know the temperature of your mash, your sparge water, and your wort as it heads into the fermenter. But not all these thermometers are created equally. Glass, bimetal, you got digital options, each with their own strengths and quirks. Yep.
I do like the laser one.
Laser guided infrared non-contact surface temperature indicator. Yeah, I like those ones too. So analog adjustments. With analog instruments, you're dealing with some mechanical parts that can loosen or shift over time. Digital, you rely on electronics that can drift on some cheaper models that aren't calibratable. You're not checking against a reliable source. What are you going to do? So calibration for thermometers starts with two anchors, we'll say. We need a reference sample. Ice water has freezing point around 32 degrees. The key, and it's not. We're not just going to be throwing our thermometer into a glass of ice cubes with water, but we're going to build a slush. We're going to use crushed ice in a pint glass all the way full of crushed ice. So if you got one of those refrigerators that has the crushed ice setting on the door, fill up a pint glass with that, and then add water to fill in the spaces. That's going to be your lab zero. That's as close as you're going to get to actual 32 degrees, but it's only off by a little bit. And you can stir it up and make sure there's no warm pockets. And you're going to insert your thermometer. You're not going to touch the sides at the bottom, and it's going to read very close to 32. It should. If it does, you're great. If it doesn't, how far out is it? Is it 5 degrees, 2 degrees?
At the other end, boiling water gives you the second anchor. At sea level, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees C. On a mountain, the boiling point drops because of the air pressure drops. Our listeners in Denver at 5,280 feet will see a boiling water around 203 degrees. You can look up your local boiling point with altitude charts. Place your thermometer in the boiling water, hold it by the handle or use a clip and check the reading. Place your thermometer in boiling water, hold it by the handle, or use a clip and check the reading. If it matches within a degree or two of the charted boiling point at your elevation, you're good at that end.
Now, some thermometers can behave a little oddly. They're accurate at the extreme, drift at the mid-range. Many brewers actually, we're utilizing these things in the mid-range because, well, mashing typically is between a 148 and 158. Ice and boiling water, we don't really use them in that area, at 32 or 212. So lab thermometers, whether mercury or digital, is a certified instrument. You can check your brewing thermometer by inserting both hot and cold water, you can check your brewing thermometer by inserting both into hot water and the mash temperature and comparing. If your brewing tool reads 4 degrees high at 150, you can either adjust the reading in your head or use the calibration screw. A lot of thermometers are going to have a little, a screw at one side, and that's going to change your face angle relative to your needle, and you can kind of shift it around there.
Well, digital thermometers often have a calibration mode. So you can press a button while the probe is submerged in the ice water and the boiling water, and it'll set the temperature. So still, this digital instruments drift over time due to moisture, maybe mechanical stress, using them over and over. So you need to check them every few sessions.
Let's dig into your thermometer drawer here. Do you have analog or digital tools? Let me see. Do you calibrate them at the start of each of your brewing cycles?
No.
Have you ever used the altitude correction method? You ever had to do that? You ever?
No, I've been usually
close to sea level.
Yeah,
me too.
For me, so it really didn't matter too much. I started out using the glass thermometers. You use those.
Like a candy thermometer style.
Yeah. And after you break one or two of them, you go to the metal one.
Yeah.
You were talking about that. It has a little thing, and you can rotate the face around, so you can calibrate it, ever so often, because the metal spring is going to wear out too, over time.
Yeah.
So that way you can calibrate it. Did I calibrate it all the time? I didn't calibrate it all the time. I calibrated it when I encountered a problem.
No.
Yeah.
That was my first clue too. And since then I've been a little better at it. No, I'm still a lazy brewer.
My digital, my laser one. Never once did I even.
Yeah,
think about that.
I've never spent one that has a enough money
I
on one that has a calibration mode.
I didn't see it. I didn't see if it had one. It probably does. It's probably a certain push of the buttons.
Yeah, a lot of mine are inexpensive ones, and if it gets weird, I just buy another one.
Yeah, mine was probably it was the handle. It was the handheld one.
Yeah,
I don't know, $40 or $60.
If you got the money for it, the ThermaPen is a fine little instrument, $150, has calibration set points, and easy to use. Just as easy to use as the $40 ones with a little more accuracy built into the system.
Yeah.
An interesting experience with some of the early digital ones. The probe tip, I was trying to take a small volume, measurement on a small volume of water. I think I was doing a yeast starter for bread. And I was trying to, keep it. I wanted 100 degrees, but I didn't want to go over 104 degrees. And I only needed like 100 mils of water or something, which is like a couple ounces. Well, if you look at the probe end of a digital thermometer, it's got kind of a taper in there because it's got
right.
And if part of that probe end is out of the water, because my sample size was only so deep,
so you couldn't get it
deep enough,
and
it gave me an error, introduced an error to the reading that it should have been. It read colder than it probably was, and I vaporized my yeast the first time I ever made bread, and I made hockey pucks instead of fry bread, which I think was the first thing I tried to bake. Was Indian fry bread, and that shit's good. So
you put yeast in Indian fry bread?
Yeah, it's a yeast
I didn't
dough.
know that.
Yeah.
No wonder they always turn out like hockey pucks.
Well, they don't friggin' rise.
I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that there's quirks in those systems as well. So you test your mash temperatures. Have you found instruments that perform differently at 150 degrees?
Versus the metal thermometer versus...
have you ever done comparisons with one thermometer of another one to see where you might really be at?
Yeah, I think I've done that a while back when we were doing like a brew day, like somewhere like you doing a national home brew day or something where everybody brings their stuff.
Oh, yeah,
so you
yeah,
can run
yeah.
around and you can test everybody's.
Yeah,
that's
always
fun.
a good way to do get multiple things for sure.
Yeah, but then that messes with everybody's head because it might be a little bit different. You're calibrated a little bit different from each other's systems, and you might have your stuff down. You're like, okay, this is what I do at this temperature.
How can you prove it? So
yeah, but
the next guy thinks the same thing,
right?
Yeah,
and he could probably do it on his system, but if you switch thermometers, you might get messed up.
For sure.
That goes back to, is it really calibrated?
Yeah, I mean those kind of drifts, they can change your change the show for you. The 4-degree difference between it could be the difference between a dry, crisp finish and a sweeter body. Kind of has to remind us. In a mash, it's going to remind us calibrating more than 2 points can make the difference.
If you're looking for a stout and you actually mash it at 148.
Yeah. And for those who, maybe this is their, first experience, they've not done cooking, and if they live in, say, higher elevations, even like, we're down here in Burlington, but if you live up in concrete, things are going to be a little bit different at elevation, or maybe Diablo, New Halem. I've met a few brewers out there. And if you're not used to that, you haven't looked at it, your altitude, barometric pressure is different. So your temperature, your boiling point, it's going to be different. Man, that effect can sound small, half a degree, but it can make a difference. If you don't know you're wrong or your instrumentation's reading off, how do you know you're right?
Right.
So you want to get nerdy, you got to look up your local pressure, adjust it accordingly. For our purposes, altitude charts are enough, and ice water is effective for it, and that's an easy one. I think the boiling water test, like I've burnt my hands a lot trying to do that, so I got to hold the thermometer with tongs and keep away from it, because the probe end's only 4 inches, so I got to be 4 inches from the surface of boiling water. It's hot, it gets really hot.
Right.
So
you better have a big long tongs.
Let's talk about some of those digital calibrations.
Okay, tell me about this ThermaPen.
Yeah,
it reads in seconds.
They're quick.
Okay.
A lot of them are.
And is it accurate? I mean, to 1.5 degrees.
So they do have some certification
Okay.
that comes with that. Like they've calibrated it to a standard measurement. And then, we get into like standards of measurements, and there's all sorts of boards. Every country's got kind of their own thing going on.
The readings come out immediately.
They're fast.
So you can check your mash temperatures right away.
You stick metal in there. It's got it's going to energize the metal to give you an accuracy. So you'll see kind of a creep, but they're relatively quick.
Yeah.
The fact that they have a calibration method or a mode on there, some of the cheaper ones definitely don't. They're just on and off and maybe toggle between Celsius and Fahrenheit.
Right.
And that's pretty good in a pinch until it isn't. So maybe you're trying to test your analog thermometer against your $40 digital one, and you're getting two different readings. Which one is the right one? So that's kind of where your boiling water, your cold water test, that is a known value.
So,
we're comparing against a known value.
Right. A sponsor segment for ThermaPen will be up shortly.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
How much is this thing? This is probably a little bit more spendy, right?
They're a little pricey.
But it's going to be worth it because it's something you can use it right away. You can
maintain it.
You can maintain it. It's accurate.
Yeah.
Even if you like to do it old school, use this for calibration.
Yeah, so that's kind of some of your lab protocols. You're going to verify instrument Y against instrument X, because this is our calibration setup. We don't monkey with this one. We only use it for
calibrating
the
our
rest
tools.
of our tools.
Yeah,
right. That's fairly. You'll see that in labs and engineering spaces.
Yep.
Even like the weights on your scale. Right. There's the official kilogram. It used to be an actual like chunk of metal that weighed 1 kilogram, and they sealed it behind like 2 glass bell jars in a vacuum. They would put it in there, put a bell jar over it, draw a vacuum. So because metal's is still impacted by atmospheric changes.
They would slowly erode
And then,
the bottom.
something like
So
that. Yeah.
become lighter
So
and lighter
nowadays
over
they now they have like an atomic kilogram. Like I can't remember the exact methodology, but it's it's
atomic
very
it's just
yeah
molecular weight,
so it's
basically.
it is a constant that is verifiable.
Are
and
they able to
calibrated
measure how many
yeah.
molecules are in X amount of metal?
Probably.
Think so.
Probably. And they got to do a lot of cool shit like that.
I would find that amazing.
Yeah.
If we could have a listener, we must have a scientist listener.
Somebody call Bob Rock. Maybe we'll get him back on the show. Let's see. Where are we at? We're talking about the Thermapen. Yeah, I would love to have one of those. Put that on my Christmas list.
Yeah.
Some real nerdcore shit for sure.
I need a brew system on my Christmas list.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So, listeners, you might be wondering about those temperature strips on the side of your fermenters. What about
those?
those?
Are like the cheapest thermometers ever.
Right.
I'll go down to where PetSmart and grab a couple.
Yeah, we got them at the shop too. They're a thermochromic indicator. They provide a color range that corresponds to a temperature. They're kind of handy at a glance, but they're not really precise. Like the width of the color change is far more than the line of demarcation on the index line on there. So you're like, oh, well, it's pretty close to 67.
Close, yeah.
And on a fermenter, when your range is 55 to 65 degrees, are you below 65? Awesome, you're doing good.
Right.
You're carrying that
good.
much, right?
If I have a glass carboy, I have one of these on there.
Yeah, I mean they're on most of my fermenters,
Yeah.
just as easy
On
at the
your
glance,
plastic
see what's
buckets.
going on. But I'm not super reliant. I mean, my fermentation chamber has its own digital controls to try to measure measure the beer's temperature versus.
This would only be when my carboy was outside. If I was to use the Quebec East,
Right, and then
which
if
is
I got
great.
100 degrees, I don't
Yeah,
care.
I want to see.
Yeah, so they're definitely not as precise. They can lag behind kind of the actual temperature of the liquid because they read the exterior of the vessel. Right, you stick it on your carboy or your bucket, so it's reading the exterior temperature of your bucket. How close is that to the actual temperature of your beer? For one thing, never mind the readability of that thermochromic strip. It's good for an kind of from the hip.
Yeah,
We're not calibrating any equipment based on it.
an average temp. It's what is it at a glance?
So yeah, we opened the show. I was talking about kind of that's one winter brew day with three thermometers. One was on the hot liquor tank, one was on the mash tun, the other one's the outflow side of my plate chiller. And when we got started this particular brew day, each one had a different reading, and I hadn't even started heating anything up. I knew the ambient temperature was cold because I could see my breath, but it was cold. So all of them were about 2 feet apart. One said 40, the other said 45, the other said 38. But I didn't know which one was right. The result was really confusion in the math. Did I actually hit my target? I mean, I heated the strike water to what one said was 165 degrees, but was it 5 degrees off, or was it 2 degrees off, or was it 3 degrees off?
And these was what kind of a temperature
These
thermometer
they were kind of they were
round
bimetal dial thermometers, 6-inch probe into say the hot liquor tank,
Screwed in?
Yep, just threaded in. And so I was like, well, did I really hit my target? How's this going to impact my beer? I was like,
Where did it screw in at the outflow from the chiller?
so on my outflow of the chiller, I've got it running through like a T junction, and I've got it, pointed in the outflow channel. So it's reading along the length into the hose kind of thing, just outside it, just coming right out of my chiller. So I could, as cold as it was, I was, cold enough for pitching temperature. But I'm trying to figure out, well, did I hit my mash tun or my mash temperature where I want? Or did I go? Was it, so far off that now I'm actually going in at 147, or achieving 146, 147, and I've got, an achingly dry finish on my beer because I've favored fermentable sugars. There's not a lot of malt presence to balance out, so the hop utilization's gone through the roof. All these little nagging questions. I was like, well, what am I going to fucking? And I don't know how this beer's.
Well,
gonna turn
you shouldn't
out.
give up if you're at that mash temperature.
I just, I started brewing. I didn't.
Bump it up.
Yeah. But it was kind of these, these are the plaguing questions that start going through my head on this brew day. I'm like, God, have I really done my job today?
And you were out in a different temperature in the weather.
Well, I was brewing in the back of the shop,
Yeah.
which is unheated, and we had the
Cold.
big garage door open. Yeah, it was very cold. It was noticeably cold, which, there's all sorts of, I'm going to lose temperature transferring from a hot liquor tank into the mash tun just because the ambient temperature is sucking it through the hose, sucking heat out from the hose, right? So, how far, if my normal average is 10 degrees hotter than my target mash in my hot liquor tank, well, now it's really freaking cold, so maybe I should do 15 degrees hot,
15?
right? Because I'm just flowing it through
more.
a half-inch hose, 2 feet to the mash tun in a
Is it that much?
40-degree room. I'm losing temperature.
yeah,
I'm losing more than I did when I'm brewing in the summer at 70.
Right.
So,
And how long
those are
is the
seasonal
hose?
changes.
How long is the hose?
I was 2 or 3 feet coming out because it kind of went down and around the corner of the mash tun.
Is that?
Yeah.
It's that like
And it was uninsulated. I didn't have the hose wrapped up or anything.
it's a
so-
soft hose.
Yeah, just soft silicone hose. Yeah. So I've seen those kind of seasonal changes.
Right. How much temperature did it drop, you think?
I don't recall that, but I knew that it was going to lose more temperature, so it was already edging towards a little bit hotter
you had me
strike
at the edge
water.
of my seat here. Did you
Yeah.
ever figure this out?
Well, I calibrated my shit after that,
Right.
And all 3 of them were wrong to 1 degree or another. So that's kind of the inspiration for tonight's talk was like, well, yeah, I had to unbolt the whole system, thread off all those connectors, clean them up, and calibrate them and reinstall them. And the very next beer was a similar recipe. It wasn't the same thing, but my performance was better. Like I could confidently say that I hit my numbers, hit the right target in my mash temperature. I was able to cool it well within the range I needed to be in.
Right.
And I was confident, I felt good about it. I think most of that was confidence, right? The only good numbers in any of these systems are ones you can trust. So I saw 3 different readings and I could not trust either one. They're
Right.
all saying something
And then
different.
now you're in no confidence in anything, so you're putting things.
Now you're
on
questioning
in your
everything.
head.
Yeah. So it was a tragic feeling brew day with my instrumentation giving me the shit.
So then you calibrated, and then you brewed again.
And I brewed again,
Feeling
and
amazing.
And yeah, so I could trust my numbers, that I was seeing, and I could make necessary adjustments because every brew day is kind of like a fucking like bullet train on fucking
and after you brew enough, when you brew enough, you can almost kind of tell when your day's not going right. Your numbers are a little bit off, and it doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Like you kind of feel like it's lying to you about a certain thing. Trust your gut on it. Trust your gut.
I mean, there's like classic example. Like you brew a lot of these little like mash and boil, the anvil, the electric brew kettle, and it's got its own thermometer in it, and it's always and you can set your temperature, and it's it's got a thermostat, so it's trying to keep your mash temperature rock solid. But there's always a variance between your mash temperature and the display on the device. Because the probe for the thermometer is on the liquid side, right? There's a basket that holds all your grains in the center, and that's the temperature of your grains is
Which
what you
is
give a
not
shit
the
about.
temperature of
Right? Because the
going
liquid
through
side changes dramatically, so there's a variance in there, and I think
So it's important to have temperature probes within the mash
temperature. So, it's one of these when you're using the device, you see that your mash temperatures drop to 142 and the heater's not even on. What the fuck is going on? And you're kind of start questioning reality and like, what is this?
Right.
But every time I've tested these systems, and I've tested mash and boils, I've tested grain fathers and anvils. We had a Robo Brew for a minute. They all kind of have that same issue. So I've taken a long stem, calibrated analog thermometer, and I took the temperature of the mash at several points, at several heights, and points along the mash surface. And what I found is the mash temperature in the inside the mash was rock solid where it needs to be. So that kind of variance as the liquid side on the outside of the basket drops in temperature. The enzymes don't really care at that point. We recycle them back into the mash tun. We heat them up and put them back in. Now they're working on the grains at the right temperature. So I quit freaking out about it. It took about 20 batches for me to feel confident about using those devices because of this big variance, right? My temperature on the device says 142 and the heater's not even on, even though I set it for 152. It's 10 degrees off. You freak out about these things. Test with a thermometer in the mash. Everything was fine.
And it was 152.
152. It's nailing it, right? Because there's a different thermal mass in the grain
it
basket.
knows. Yep.
Yeah.
It knows. It's compensating for
Yeah.
that.
So again, we come back to this like confidence thing, right? If your instruments are telling you something that doesn't feel right, it's time to probably fucking look at those things. And thermometer is an easy one. We've talked about how to fix that. Let's move on. Because we have lots of different deals.
We have lots of different deals.
Yeah. What about your hydrometer? Hydrometer. What if that was lying to you? We've talked about a couple different. We did a whole show on refractometers lying to you.
We did.
Yeah. But your hydrometer, it's a simple little thing. It's just a weighted glass stem that floats in liquid. The heavier the liquid, the higher it floats, right? Just like your boat floats higher in the salt water than it does in fresh water, right? The density of the liquid.
There's more salt in the water.
Right? So it's more dense. So you don't have to displace as much water just to float. So you're going to ride higher in the water. That's basically what a hydrometer
So
is.
if I brew with salt water, my hydrometer is going to stick out and give me a fake reading?
It sure would.
Oh my.
It sure would.
That's what I do with a Goza. To adjust for that, right?
I've never really thought of it that way. That's a very good point. Right?
Yeah.
Or you just say, fuck it, it's a goes.
But then you can never.
Yeah.
You have to hit your targets. So this is a thing.
Yeah. So the scale on that is calibrated to read a specific gravity of liquids and comparing that to water. And that water, it's calibrated to, most of them are calibrated like a 68 degree sample or maybe even a 64 degree sample. And if you look at the fine print on your hydrometer, it's going to tell you
on the glass hydrometer.
Yeah.
It's fully
so
sealed.
1.00 on your hydrometer is the density of water at 32 degrees of elevation at 68 degrees. That should be 1.00. And I believe that's also distilled water that they've calibrated it against too. So dissolved solids like calcium, magnesium sulfate, all that stuff, that can change things.
I calibrated I calibrated my glass hydrometer once. On the concrete floor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's 0.
You're done.
Yeah. And then constant. So, I have several brewers who come in and buy hydrometers like 2 or 3 at a time. Oh, no. Because they keep breaking them.
Yep.
And I explained to them that, that Sumerian god of brewing, Ninkasi, demands frequent sacrifice. And $8 hydrometers are far cheaper than still beating hearts.
That's right.
So easy one. But back to hydrometers. Most of your hydrometers is going to be you're going to see our triple scale. This shows specific gravity, potential alcohol, and Brix, which is kind of like the metric version of specific gravity. The most common calibration temperature I've seen is 64 or 68 degrees. There are, I think, some 60 degree ones out there. And that's kind of important to know because the density of liquid at 60 degrees is different than the density of liquids at 68 degrees, right? Because as it gets colder, it contracts, so it's more dense. And warm it up, it's less dense, right? The molecules start spreading out as you warm things up. So that's why there's a temperature correction scale on your hydrometer, right? It says at 70 degrees, you got to add 0.001 or something. You look at the fine print in the instructions. But if you're taking a hydrometer reading at boiling temperatures, in fact, we shared the story of Zach not too long ago. He's freaking out about his brew day, missing his numbers, and it turns out he was taking his hydrometer reading just after turning the burner off his kettle. Oh, dropped his sample. It's like, oh my god, this is fucking up! I fucked up. What did I do? It was too hot.
And you're gonna craze your little flapper.
Little flapper.
You're gonna craze your flapper. Yeah. You don't dip your refractometer into boiling water.
Oh yeah.
Don't boiling water on there and then put your little flapper down because it'll craze the little.
Yeah.
It's plastic of some sort. I don't know what. it's
You want it to be nice and flat, so boiling temperature is going to mungle that shit up.
you gotta blow that off.
So those hydrometers, they can drift, they can crack, and then let liquids in. Which now the
mine
change
cracked
that.
all over the floor.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
And then my refractometer it crazed the thing. I am happy I never did break the glass or anything.
Yeah, the prism.
The prism.
Yeah, just little.
But they need to be calibrated as well.
Frequently, and that we did that whole show on it. I don't remember what episode that number is, but you can check it out
Today.
But yeah, you could have if you get a fine crack in your hydrometer, and now it's letting liquids in, which is changing the buoyancy rate. So now you're not reading the same thing.
Yep.
You know that paper. You know your hydrometer's just got a piece of paper that's in there. It's not really glued in. It's just sort of shoved in there. It's sealed up, and down the road you go. And I suppose if it were rough handled,
Let's say
and didn't break.
Let's say I went down a washboard dirt road, and I was bringing my brew day down to my buddy's house, but he's got like 2 miles of washboard back into his place, and I didn't put my. I take good care of my stuff when I'm home. You know, it goes up on a shelf in a cushion or in a towel, something like that. But I was in a hurry. And I throw my bucket in, throw my stuff in, and in my buckets, I was gathering my little tools, and my hydrometers are straight up and down in between a rag, but they're still touching the floor of the bucket,
Bouncing around.
and so then my bucket goes in the back in the back of the truck, in the very back by the tailgate. So now I go through the washboard, and I might have just. That little,
what if you shifted the paper inside?
It probably came down.
I have heard of people like tapping it gently to like nudge it back into the, like taking a known sample of distilled water at 68 degrees, confirmed with accurate thermometer, you know, at near sea level, and noticing it wasn't reading 1.00, and kind of like, you know, maybe it's just a hair's width off, you know, and kind of tapping that in place. Of course, you run the risk of damaging it too. So, you know, that's another good reason to maybe have 2 or 3 of those things, because you're staying ahead of Murphy, keeping from breaking one, and you can kind of compare your findings.
Yep.
Right.
You could buy a really nice one.
Yeah, you can spend some money. They're out there too. There's some nice ones that have like a temperature. Little, you know, I don't know what the red liquid in a modern thermometer is. No longer mercury, but now they got this red liquid. I don't remember what it's fucking called.
Who knows?
But it's got that, so you can take your temperature sample, so you can correct for your temperature difference within a, you know, it's not like a full like 0 to 212 thermometer on there, but you can see like, I am too warm, I need to correct for that. But those are they're things you can do. Is take good care of your equipment. You know, maybe calibration on a glass thermometer is not as easy as it sounds, but taking good care of it and not jumping, you know, bouncing it around in the back of a Jeep on a fucking winding road. You know, and of course not, you know, walking sideways into a door, or my first one that broke, I finished brew day late, and I cleaned everything up, and I put it on the dish drying rack in the kitchen. Well, a couple days go by, I haven't put it away.
That's a mistake.
Yeah. But then all the kids hadn't done the dishes, so the dirty dishes piled up. They finally did them, and it was basically every dish in the house was on top of my hydrometer, and I'm like, no fucking way that thing survived. I put all the dishes away, and lo and behold, there's my hydrometer intact in one piece, and I pick it up in sheer disbelief that it's still intact, and immediately drop it on the floor.
I was going to say, that's the holy...
Kids, you broke my hydrometer!
The holy hydrometer. Oh, no.
So they don't listen to this show, but I totally threw them under the bus.
I don't know how many I've broken. I've had a lot. So I've had like little fat bottoms with little tiny tall skinny tops.
Oh, there's some very cool lab ones. Yeah.
And then I've had one where they're like, you know, pretty much almost the same, but a little skinnier at the top.
Yeah, there's some lab ones that have like wider scales on them, make them easier to read.
Yep.
But they cost like 8 times as much, and they break even easier because
they're so tiny.
The scale version is like 1/8 of an inch thick, and goddamn, that thing it's fragile. Yeah, which is Italian, right?
I might have it somewhere. I have this brew gear somewhere.
Oh, drawers
old-
full of stuff.
Well, I mean, my old stuff.
So there are those, we were talking about these fancy ones. These are laboratory hydrometers. They're certified to a standard. They are going to cost more. They are way more fragile, and not really. It's pretty much outside the range of most homebrewers. I mean, a decent quality glass hydrometer with a correction factor on it is going to be just fine. There are inexpensive ones. I've seen like plastic ones from unverified sources, and these guys can be all over the board. No standardization in manufacturing process, or very little standardization in manufacturing process to achieve a verifiable result. So it's one of those buyer beware things. Those plastic ones, they sound interesting, but plastic is a weird solid. It's a kind of a semi-solid. Like things happen. Just like there's oxygen permeability of plastics for one thing. How's that going to affect the readability or the accuracy of your plastic hydrometer over time?
Right.
Things like
Probably
that.
has reaction to temperature.
Yeah. Let's see. What are you currently using? Do you have multiple? You still have a couple ones. Do you have any digital? You have a refractometer?
Refractometer.
Do you have any of the digital ones?
Not a digital refractometer.
Yeah,
no.
I can't afford one either. Remember Bob Rock? We had on his show. We had him on the show like the water. I think it was episode 4. I remember visiting them on a brew day at Cardinal Craft, and he was taking hydrometer readings, refractometer readings, and he had this little digital one. The digital one has its own light source, so it is independent of ambient lighting conditions. We talked about in the refractometer show how different wavelengths of light refract very differently. And he was doing this analysis, and he was kind of like charting the variance between all three of these. And of course, either the refractometer and the digital one are calibrated to a certified lab hydrometer. So he was kind of doing, he was planning on writing a white paper on an anecdotal variance between refractometers and digital refractometers, and I don't know if he ever finished that one. I'll have to call him up again and see how that went.
Yeah, have a summary of the book.
You right? Yeah. See how that.
Give a book away to the listeners.
He's a statistical engineer. He's a big nerd. We like that. I like that about him. I'll have to call him up, find out how that if that paper ever got done. Let's see.
What? All right. Do you want me to shoo it around?
Sure.
Or do you want just the
I'll
easy
drink.
pour?
I'll drink beer.
Let's do easy pour.
Oh, a little more beer to wet the whistle. Let's move on to measuring your water or your wort. Volumes. We're going to talk about
Sounds like a
volumes and
book.
density. That's murky. That's like that.
Measure your water or your wort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the drag.
Yeah, you did. Cheers.
Cheers. I think I got the extra protein too.
Oh yeah, lots of vitamins, B12s and
Vitamins.
So
Yeah.
water volume or your wort volume, that measurement is pretty overlooked. Many of us just rely on the volume markings stamped on our kettles or fermenters. So stamp numbers, they can be wrong. A kettle might be claiming to hold 10 gallons, but only hold 9.5. It, depending on the manufacturer, may or may not be calibrated. And you might think you're boiling down to, so you might end up boiling down to 6 gallons when it's really 5.5, and then you stick it in a keg and you're like, well, fuck, I ran out of beer. What the hell? So these are things you'll want to confirm with on your equipment.
Like your sight glass on the side of your
The sight
boil
glass,
kettle.
well, the sight glass, yeah. Most sight glasses don't come calibrated. You have to do it yourself, right? You have to make the marks on there. But so maybe on your kettle, it's got etched numbers on the side. Are those accurate? Did you check them, right? And how accurate? And if they are accurate, at what temperature are they accurate? Right, because the difference in volume between boiling and pitching temperature of your wort is 4%.
4%.
4% density,
per what?
volume difference. So the water at boiling, it'll look like more water at boiling
than at
than
freezing.
it will at definitely at freezing, but also let's like 4% difference there. So that's something. right? So we want to confirm those kind of findings. We want to take a look at that. And so how do we do that? One method is you can make your own marks on your kettle using a measured container, an accurately measured container, say a pitcher that's verified. I prefer
Something else you need to calibrate.
Well, I usually use a scale. If I want to measure out a Dead Nuts gallon of water, 8 gallons of water is 8 pounds of water is a gallon.
Now you need to measure. You need to calibrate your scale.
That we're going to talk. I think we're going to talk about that later. Don't skip ahead in the notes. So you can measure out your gallons and make new marks that you know are accurate at what temp and at the temperature you have decided, because that could be the difference between yielding 5 gallons of water or 5 gallons of beer or 4.5 gallons of beer. It's going to be nice to know. You can do this on your fermenters as well. Sometimes your fermenters are painted. If the paint, if the paint spraying device on the manufacturing line was out of spec, right? It introduces variability that way. If you're trusting, again, the only good numbers are ones you can trust. So these are things you can do to
like
manage your gear.
Right amount of water I put in my ramen. Up to that line or a little bit more because I like a little bit of juice.
Yeah. But then that changes, like the seasoning tastes a little flatter because you got more liquid in there. But beer, this can be, either your volume's off or, maybe we talked about hydrometers, so now it's not 4.9%, it's 4.75%. Can I taste that difference? I don't know, but if I'm worried about it, these are things we can do. We can check our gear. So gallon of water weighs 8.34 pounds at 68 degrees. A quart of water, 2.085. So if you have a kitchen scale or an accurate pitcher, you can weigh them out, pour them into your kettle. Now you can insert a stick or a paddle or something, and you can mark the water line. We'll say this about this is called like a truth stick. I remember building one of these when I first got started brewing. Your truth stick is really only accurate if you have like a flat bottomed kettle. If you have a
truth stick,
you
know what I call that?
Well, my first kettle didn't have marks on it, so I had to come up with some way to measure that.
It's my
your mash paddle.
My mash paddle, yeah.
It's indexed now for easy reading. Yeah. My second brew kettle was actually it was a kegel, converted from a keg. I cut the top off. Well, that has a round bottom, so my truth stick was only good for my first kettle. My second kettle, I had to I can't really use a truth stick on that because if I don't put the stick in exactly in the center, I've introduced variability.
You're not accounting for that lower volume, man. Yeah. That means you're getting what? Bad readings on your sugar versus alcohol by volumes?
Well, so if your volume is off as an extract brewer, this becomes immediately obvious because our gravity is usually a fixed point in space. Right? We've emptied all of the sugar from the jar or the bag into our boil kettle. Mm-hmm. And it should be at 1054, just like the recipe says. Well, if your water volume is off, if you have more water, you've diluted the sugar, so you have a lower gravity.
So now we need to boil that water off.
Right. Or hang it all in, we'll just drink light beer today.
Yeah. Just drink light beer, but we'll have
it's a big question I get in classes, like, why is this not reading accurately? Well, did you really put 3 gallons of water in there and boil it down, or did you, how accurate?
Yeah.
I can see you've got more than 5 gallons in your fermenter according to the scale that's on there. Like, it's visibly something's up. Either the scale is, or you've got more water, which is effectively diluting your readings.
Right. And once it's in the fermenter, it's too late.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to pour it back in and heat it back up or boil it off.
You can deal with it in your boil kettle.
Yeah, right.
Get it to the right sugar level.
Mm-hmm. Well, in all grain brewing, we're responsible for getting all the sugar out of the grains that we can. Have we done a good job? I'm a strong advocate for taking pre-boil gravities. You can kind of work out that percentage. Sometimes a recipe will print one out for you, which is handy. You can figure out what it should be based on your boil-off rate and the percentage difference between the two. And so in my system, my pre-boil gravity is usually about 8 to 10 points from my original gravity, right? So I boil off so much water over the course of an hour, and the gravity goes up because I'm losing
8
water.
points, yeah.
Yeah. It's about gravity,
right.
8 points, yeah. So I'm a big fan of taking a pre-boil gravity, even if I'm manually calculating what that gravity should be, because I still have time to fix it in my boil. Like if I didn't do a good job on the mash, or generally those errors usually creep up on the sparge. Maybe I sparged too fast. I left sugars behind, something like
Now
that.
you're a little low in sugar.
Right. I still have
DME.
By taking the pre-boil gravity. Right. There's usually about a half an hour before you go from mash out to boil. There's usually about a half-hour window in there, just heating it up to the boil. Say it's coming out at 150 degrees, you still have 62 degrees to get there. And that takes a minute. So pre-boil gravity, even if I had to take a small sample and cool it to 68 degrees with the water bath for my hydrometer, don't knock the gear. Even if I have to wait to cool that off.
Ben's getting excited over there.
Even if I have to wait 20 minutes to cool that sample to 68 degrees, I still have an hour and 10 minutes before the end of my boil. So if I've fucked it up, I can still fix it, and it hasn't wrecked my beer. The biggest way to, if your gravity's off, if you have less sugar than you should have for the recipe, well, your IBUs just went through the roof.
Yep.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So check your water volumes. Make sure your stuff is accurate, because that can make a big difference on the performance of your brew stand. If you're already worried about, I'm never hitting my numbers on brew day as an all grain brewer, check your kit and make sure because those kind of errors that are introduced by incorrect volume measurements will play with your psyche and make you doubt yourself as a brewer. It'll make you doubt yourself as a human, and kind of tear your shit up.
Your head.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
After I've been brewing now for 14 years, and I'm finally learning, like, okay, these are the lessons I have to learn, and I'm trust my gut a little bit, check my findings, confirm my results, and I quit worrying about little fuck ups. But if I start seeing like consistently problematic performance on brew stands, on my brew stand, I'm gonna have to dig a little deeper, get to the bottom of it. Like I found out my brew stand wasn't level for like 6 months, and all of my wort was flowing down the drain, and so my sparge performance was garbage. I leveled the brew stand, fixed the problem, and no more headaches. But there's dumb little things like that, or
Your
like
brew
water
stand
volume.
was like at a 45-degree angle.
It was off kilter. Yeah.
You're trying to sparge into your brew kettle. It's just like
Yeah, I was.
I
opened. I looking at the mash bath. Mash the grain bed after mash out, or after sparging out, and it was sloped to one side. I'm like, well, that's. And it didn't occur to me for far too long that the whole system was leaning, and that sloped grain bed, right? Water finds its own level, everything leveled compared to the.
It just came out, huh?
Well, yeah, because fluid dynamics, right? The path of least resistance is to the low point on that basket, and then it just falls straight down, leaving a large percentage of unsparged grain in my mash tun. So my sugar volume was shit show. Little things like that, even after 15 years, you can go, oh, fuck that. I fucked that up. Shit. Yep. I fucked that up. How do I fix this? And water volumes is a easy way to fuck that up. This episode is getting rather long. We have not even touched on, we're just about the halfway point in our notes. So we're going to do this. We're going to cut right here. Come back next week. We're going to talk about your scales, your weights, your pHs, regulators, pressure gauges, carbonation, all the different ways, all the different kit, and even right down to your software profiles. So come back next week. We got more calibration goodness.
Oh yeah,
more things you can deep dive on.
And another beer 30. Don't forget about that.
That's right. We'll have more beer, and we'll do it up.
All right, folks. Thanks.
Awesome.